and welcome to AZ in the Circle, Arizona Softball Podcast. We are here with Kally V. Goes by Kally V, Kally V Softball. You have a great website. Kally, thank you for being in the studio.
Thank you.
Yep. We love to shine a light on hardworking, talented high school and college softball players and coaches. Fortunate that you have played collegiately, have coached collegiately. You currently are a private pitching coach, and you also assist high-level Tennessee Mojo 16U team. He's Ramsey Morales. You'll be with him this summer. So we're excited for you to be here with us. I got a series of questions. There's so much knowledge that you have to share and stories you could tell. I'm going to try to keep it as tight as possible. We'll have 4 questions. Over the last 25 years, pitching's changed. Has pitching changed? What has happened in pitching, in high school pitching, is one of my questions. Second one is you've coached several players from high school to college. What are some of the key characteristics that they share when they go on and they're successful in college? And then we'll take a break, and then when we come back, you have 2 sophomores. I think it's important to shine a light on sophomores as they go into their summer before September 1st period. And you have a couple that we actually have tape on we can talk about. And then, what do you love most about softball? The last question, what do you love most about softball? And why do you keep coming back to it? You're passionate about it, and you really passed it forward with all your experience. So, ready?
Sweet.
All right, here we go. So, Kally, like I said, you've coached over 25 years here in the Valley. That's a quarter of a century. You've coached collegiately, played collegiately. How has pitching changed from 25 years ago to today in terms of high school pitching?
Wow, it's changed a lot. And I've actually coached in different states over the last 26 years. So growing up in Kansas, very different from like Arizona type ball, right? Even New Mexico ball. But as far as the change, obviously the ball, we played with white ones. Yeah, we played with white ones. We also wore shorts and wore sliding pads on our knees. But
almost like volleyball players.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we played in college. That was our uniform. It's crazy. But to me, I feel like there's more information out there to be more effective and more efficient. However, the one thing that we're always running into is like somebody's best way or the highway, right? When I moved to Gallup, New Mexico at the age of 16, I had a fast pitch pitching coach who was a men pitcher for the USA Olympic team. And one of the best things he taught me was a curveball. Love it. But he taught me that he is not going to expect me to move like him because he's a man and I'm a girl, a woman, And he taught me how to utilize basically what God gave me correctly to be more effective and efficient, to where my junior year of high school, I was so mad because I felt like I peaked. I hit 64 miles per hour.
As a junior?
As a junior.
Incredible.
And I was 5'3", competing. I'm already shrinking. Yeah. So I was so mad about that. But at the same time, looking back.
Should have been so happy.
I know. Well, I wanted to climb my ladder of success at a rhythm, right? But looking back, I'm like, no, that's just proof for everything I'm doing now and everything I have been doing for almost 30 years is working. Thank God I've never had a surgery. I've never had hip issues. I've never had knee surgery, shoulder, either labrum, no issues. And that is a direct reflection for how I was taught and then also how I implemented that into my own pitching. So that's huge to me. So there is more information out there to be more effective and more efficient, but yet we still have people that are stuck in their ways. And the way I look at it is a great example is like when you and I were in school, right? They typically taught you one way. And if you didn't learn that one way, you were kind of pushed to the back of the class, right? Or you had to go through all these testing and then you were identified. And now, thank God, through education systems, kids have like IEPs and stuff like that to where they can actually get taught the way they need to learn. And then they become like, I don't know, amazing like computer software makers, Yeah. So anyways, with that,
more customized or a little bit more customized. You still have your standards, but a little bit more customized. So, hey, we just need to do this with this student, and wow, they blossom.
Yes. So it's all about identifying where the glitch is in their pitch, right? but you have to be willing to see that as a coach. And then you have to bestow that into your client. Because that's usually the biggest pushback I get is like somebody who throws really fast, but their inconsistency is like through the roof. And then they come work with me and it's like, hey, we have to take this out. Like, you're going to drop 3 to 5. And they're like, what? And I'm like, just ride it. Trust me. Let's get you moving effectively and efficiently. Because all your preferences are telling me, like, we need to be doing this and we need to be doing this. And there are foundations as to, just like hitting, you can't cut corners in the foundations of hitting. You just can't, you know, and there's foundations into throwing overhand and there's throwing foundations into catching. So you have to identify what those foundations are and make sure every kid is hitting that checkpoint, right? Then you get to see like, okay, let's say somebody hitting doesn't have a lot of internal rotation. So you like turn their toes out a little bit more, right? And you make it to where they can get their hips in. Aaron Judge, for instance, he always starts closed off. That's because that's the only way he can get rotation, right? So that's how.
Or he was open a little bit and he was struggling.
And then he went.
And then he went a little bit like this. So even the best of the best make slight adjustments,
yes,
and it produces results.
And they're constantly chasing the, like, I don't want to say discomfort, but comfort for athletes should be a red flag. Like, the moment you get comfortable, you should probably sit down and watch yourself in slow motion and just see if you can see any indifferences into what could be robbing you. Like, I'm not saying create chaos, always be dramatic about things, but at some point, as a high level athlete, you should be chasing change. You should be chasing a new level. And that's why not everybody gets to play at the higher level, because it's harder and harder and harder the higher you go.
Absolutely. You said something just now. You said glitch in the pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was looking at your website, it said, if you want, I think, to have you be a pitching coach for them, you have to apply, but you have this, it's like an application.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little bit about that. Is that something that you show some video of them, you look at it, and then you decide, yes, I'm taking this client on? How does that work? Is that a fair question?
Yeah, no, it's literally the application's right there. You fill it out. You know, I call out who this is for and who it is not for. Like, if you're not a pitcher who's willing to go down the rabbit hole of reconstruction, this is not going to work, because you're obviously coming to me because lack of inconsistency, lack of speed or ability to gain speed. And then worse is lack of confidence.
What if they're just starting out?
That's where it's like, okay, what have you had done before? If they're a beginner, I don't get video on them until they're on boarding call, because what I do is I show them how to upload their videos into my program, and then I show them where to access them, and then I do a live feedback session in the video for them, because I do hybrid training. So they could work out with me 7 days a week if they wanted to. That's on them, but I don't encourage that. That's just crazy. I mean, I even plug in rest days for my girls. Okay. So, but once I see the video, I look for, how are they in their load? How are they coming through into their reach, which is, you know, going towards their catcher? What do they look like in their track? Is their elbow bending a little bit, or are they, you know, pointing back towards center field, which is a lot of the old style of pitching, hello elbow. So I would say about 17 years ago, internal rotation and whip and forearm fire really started coming prevalent, maybe even pushing 20. But there was a lot more hello elbow back in the day, and that's a push pitch. So that's where you see a lot more damage into the shoulder, less lower half usage. And when I started to realize how much I needed to utilize my body, I really feel like that's how I was able to hit 64 as a junior in high school.
Using everything.
Everything.
It's almost like a shot put or the javelin or the discus.
And I was really good at that in junior high.
Okay, you transfer all as you try to use all your energy and athleticism to transfer all that energy into that implement. It happens to be the softball.
Yeah.
So it all transfers.
Yeah. So I'll look for the reach, the track, and then I look at how they're driving. So one thing I always reference the girls is, what does your drag mark look like? Does it look like a banana, or does it go boom? And I'm like, okay, well, you just left that much energy on the table. So I don't believe in leaping, even though leaping is legal. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in crow hopping, even though dudes do it in fast pitch. That's fine for them, but they don't have babies. Our spinal column is completely different.
They're different than us?
Yeah.
I mean,
crazy, right?
They're different than women?
Yeah, it's crazy. So I don't believe in those things. And here's another good one. I'll ask you this because I feel like you have a good hitter's brain. So as we're teaching kids how to hit, right? When do we ever teach them to lift their drive foot up and bring their drive foot back down? Never. You teach them to stride, but that energy that they're receiving on their drive side comes from the ground. So the more you push ground force into the ground, the more energy you're going to receive, which is going to give you more front side resistance. So you are able to get internal rotation, the same thing that you're getting with pitching. So when I have girls that come to me and let's say out of the gate, I'm like, are you a leaper? And they're like, yeah, okay, I'm not going to be able to help you. I don't teach it. I don't believe in it. I know it works for pitchers of all sizes, right? But if they come to me and they want to stop being a leaper, we can fix it. Like, it gets fixed. But I teach them how to stay in contact with the ground, how to drag laces down. We use like power phrases like drag foot to foot or knee to knee or drive thigh to target, to get them to understand you don't want your leg disappearing behind you and then coming back. So
that's great. It's I think I need to take a physics class to understand some of that language there. But the idea is you got fundamentals and you stick to them. And it looks like what you've said, how pitching has evolved. It's maybe a little less. It's more healthier for the girls.
100%.
Yep.
Yes.
And then what about when it went from 40 feet to 43 feet? Did that give you an opportunity for pitchers to have more movement on the ball? Because I think the ball moves in the last 3 feet or something.
Mm-hmm.
How did you see that affect the high school game?
More movement for sure. I was so grateful when they took the pitchers to where, you could start with your foot back, because when I threw, both feet had to be in contact with the mound. So the moment they released that, I was like, thank God, this is going to help so many girls get more energy. But then new problems started to arise. Like, the further back you start with your load foot, the further forward you have to go. And you should not be striding anymore longer than you are tall. That's how you're striding within your body's ability to be strong. The moment you outstride that, that's when you start introducing injuries. Okay. So ball movement, I would say, I think the changeup got better. I really do. I think girls are starting to buy in more, especially like in the last 5 to 7 years. They're buying into that lower changeup. That best place to screw the pitch up is in the dirt. Why? Because your catcher can block it and the batter can't get a hold of it, right? If it's over your catcher's head, somebody scores or runners advance. If it goes too high, it's Merry Christmas, Happy New Year,
Yeah.
So getting girls to understand to keep the ball low on their changeups and having that further distance, I think that definitely empowers them to have more control in that. But they have to mentally buy into it, because if you don't have it here, you're not going to physically get it.
Gotcha.
Right? So.
All right. That's a lot of good stuff.
Thanks.
That's good. I want to see that on repeat over and over. The young pitchers should too.
Yes.
Okay. Now, you've coached several players from high school to the next level, college, whatever level you go to. It's unbelievable to get to the next level. What has been the top characteristics of the players that go on and are successful in college?
Out of the gate, work ethic. Work ethic is always going to be the divider for anybody to go on and play at a higher level. The ability to be humble, to know that was on me. Those are two big things, because whenever I do talk to my girls, like, and I'm coaching them through the aspect of getting a home run hit off of them, and I'm like, okay, well, did you know when it came out of your hand? Yep. Or the moment they know, because I always tell them, I'm like, here's the thing. If you say the ball's coming back at you, guess what? It's coming back at you. Like, you've already put it out there. If you get nervous and you let any negativity slip into that full count and she hits a bomb off of you, whose fault is that? Mine, coach. Why? Because I let the negative thought come in. But the moment, so let's say they take it positive, and the moment the bomb gets hit, they lose with so much more humility in that moment versus, oh my gosh, I'm such a failure, I'm going to quit pitching. You know what I mean? So there's two ways to lose. So that was another one I was thinking about as I read the questions. I was like, college coaches want athletes who, again, know how to train athletically, but they also want girls who know what it takes to win. And in order to know how to win, you have to know how to lose, because a loss is a learn. That's all it is.
Yep.
You learn from it. It's feedback. You go on, you win.
Yep.
You rinse and repeat, and you do it again.
Yep. And that's a good thing for pitchers to know, is that hitters in college, maybe in high school, they're going to want to know, what does she pitch with runners on base and it's a full count? Mm-hmm. What does that pitcher go to? Because whatever that pitcher throws, that's probably what I'm going to see in that same situation. Mm-hmm. So they have to be prepared. So there's a lot of give and play strategy going on. 100%. So those hitters already know it's full count. She's probably throwing this pitch. So the pitcher also probably knows that. So it's a big head-to-head will. Who's going to win it? And no one wins every single battle. So
no, and they have to be okay with that. But one of the biggest exercises I like to do with the girls, because I'm trying to think, I don't work with any POs. Like, even nationally, internationally, none of my girls are just pitchers. They're all hitters. And I always tell them, I'm like, pitch against yourself. What are you looking for right now in this moment? What are you looking for? Who's going to win this battle? And when they get into that headspace during a session, they get out of that session and they're like, oh my gosh, coach, that was amazing. And I'm like, it's weird, right? And this was just in a tunnel, or this was at a park, or this was online remotely. Like, they didn't understand that they could actually go there mentally. And I always go back to, if you don't have it here, you're not going to have it here. Like, so yeah. Yeah.
And I've heard that before too, many times, where the mind doesn't know. If you think of it and visualize it, the mind does not know the difference between reality and what you envision. Mm-mm. So you better be envisioning great things.
Yep. All the time. I always tell them, like, day before a tournament, like, especially the big showcase tournaments, like where they know there's going to be coaches out there. I'm like, just lay your head down and shut your eyes. And I want you to see a show behind your eyelids. And you're going to see yourself throwing the pitches, feeling the success. You're going to see yourself hitting the pitches, feeling the success. You're also going to show yourself catching a line drive and making the double play. You're also going to show yourself, playing the bunt. Like, think of every scenario that is going to showcase your talent in front of those coaches. Because when recruiters go out and they look for, specialty positions like pitchers, they're not just looking to see how many strikes you throw versus how many balls. They're looking to see, like, are you an athlete? Because pitchers truly are a workhorse, but they couldn't do that if they didn't have a catcher that's helping them look good. So there's always that direct relation between a pitcher and a catcher. So,
speaking of athletes that are pitchers, we're really blessed in Arizona to have some outstanding pitchers that are athletes, or athletes that are pitchers that hit, two-way players. Mm-hmm. Look at the University of Arizona. They have two. They have Stoddard and Devin Netz. Those two are incredible. Just I think it was yesterday, when we air this, it'll be past that. But U of A won 1-0, and Devin Netz was pitching, and Devin Netz hit the bomb, and they won 1-0. And it's happened before, earlier in the game. She just got the golden ticket to be drafted.
I was so excited.
And then Stoddard's another great two-way player. So you're right. And it seems to be those two-way players are so invested in the game, and I think they benefit from hitting and pitching.
Well, and you have to give credit to the coaches that are allowing themselves to teach that way. Because I remember a couple years ago down here, some big organization was deciding to make 12U pitchers POs. And I was like, what are we doing? Like, you're dumbing them down. Mm. Like, these girls, I know these girls, they can hit. Why are you just making them just a pitcher? Like, they need to have as much exposure at the plate as they do on the mound.
Makes them a better pitcher.
Man.
Better hitter.
And you know what? Come on. You talk about Nyjah, right? Stanford, she was just a PO. She goes to Texas, and look at what she did.
Tech, yep. And Jordy Ball.
Yes.
Also hitting very well in Nebraska.
Yeah, people like it. This is where baseball and softball are different. And people need to be okay with that. It's like, again, male versus female. Just different. It's the way it is. Mm-hmm.
And that's great. It's a great thing.
Yeah, we need to embrace that instead of conforming.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that stuff. And I do believe you said hard work, work ethic, and humility. And if you want to be great in college, really, you don't have that many choices. There's a great book out there, It Takes What It Takes. You want to be great in anything, you don't have too many choices. The choices are you got to do the things you got to do to be successful, and it's a short list. So it's awesome that you reaffirm that.
You have to be comfortable in the aspect of doing those things. Like I was listening to an interview the other day of a baseball pitcher, I believe at LSU. I think this is what I saw. And he was working with a new trainer, new coach, and his warm-up was 2 hours long. And he was like, what the heck is happening? This is stupid. I can't believe I bought into this. Da, 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 da. Went out and performed the best he had ever performed. Completely bought in. And it's like, those are the things you have to be willing to give yourself credit and effort to move towards. That's a compliment for where you've been able to go in your career, is that somebody is going to coach you in your warm-up for 2 hours, right? And then, boom, you get on the mound and you're showing up, you know? So, but everybody just wants you to go, 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 go. Chicken on a hot plate. Like, we're not in a circus. So, got to slow it down.
Thanks, Coach Kally V. We're going to take a break, hear from our sponsor. Thank you, Brig, over here at Polaris PT.
At Polaris PT and Wellness, we believe that movement is medicine. We believe that as an athlete, you should be performing at the highest level. And so we deliver performance-driven solutions to get you back out onto the field faster. So give us a call at 480-808-4995 or reach out to us through our website, www.polarisptphx.com, where movement is medicine.
And we are back. Thank you, Brig, with Polaris PT, for all you do for not only our show, but for getting the student athletes back in shape and back on the playing field as soon as possible. Okay, so 2 more questions. This time of year, as I was talking about before, it's a great time. High school season, just a few games left on Monday for some teams. Some teams have already finished. The seeding happens and the playing games start next week. And then college, they start their conference championships. And then, but on the back end of that, after the World Series, we got college recruiting, and the club softball world picks up again. It's a big summer for the 2027s coming up, and we shoot to have a few of them on the show if we can. In your case, we selected you have 2 pitchers that we're going to highlight, 2 2027 pitchers, so that we can give them a little bit of exposure here, shine a light on them, and help them, because come September 1st, that period, that recruiting phase, it's an important phase when they can actually be contacted in the fall by college coaches. Maybe maybe we put them on the radar. So I want to talk about 2 of your sophomores that we discussed. The first one is McKenna Quapich. She's a sophomore at CDO, Canyon de Laurel, down in Tucson, who currently is ranked 15th in the country. That's a great team. And tell us a little bit about her before we show the film.
So McKenna is a fully remote client. We've never actually worked in person. And prior to working with me, she was working with Taylor McQuillan. And Taylor had to go off and play pro ball, you know. But her recruiter is Jen Turner with College Athlete Advantage. And Jen had contacted me saying, hey, heads up, I've sent somebody for you. They're going to be contacting you. And we sat down, did the initial call. And McKenna came to me as a kid who grew really fast one summer. Like, she's predicted to be 6'2". She's already 6 foot. I think when she started working with me, she was 5'9". And she's only been with me now for a total of 6 months. So within the first 5 months, she went from 53 miles per hour to 59 miles per hour. And the biggest thing for her was the mental training in the bullpen. She had never experienced writing things down, what she was feeling, how she made the adjustment. And then she was able to take that and put it on the mound in a game. And it just completely opened a whole nother door in her brain. So she has so much discipline for this game, for the position, like the responsibility, she wears it. And so much so that we do a lot of mental training as well, because she's one of those ones that I would say, if I had to look at and like flag as like high risk to possibly make herself all about softball, I would put her on that, you know, and not because it's something she would do. It's kind of society. Like they're like, oh, dang, she's going to be 6'2". Like she's all about softball, right? She is softball. So we really talk about McKenna, the person, right? How was your day? How are you handling adversity? How are you handling your good moments? And it's crazy. Within 6 months, this girl has just grown so much as an athlete, as a person. It's also taught her mom so much more about what McKenna wants and what McKenna is willing to do to get it. So she also hits as well.
That's
so,
great.
I know, like we were talking earlier, having the,
it's good that she's down in Tucson. She gets to see Stoddard and Nets making it happen.
Yeah, I mean, she went to prospect camps, U of A, GCU. She went to one in Utah, and she really liked U of A. She really liked Conrad, the way he spoke into the girls and even spoken to her. And, you know, him saying, you know, what's your favorite pitch? And she's like, the drop ball. And then she throws it, and he's like, oh, now I can see why. And I said, that's huge, because right there in that moment, you may have spent an hour with him, but he's going to remember that moment, right? Any pitching coach. And then at GCU, she walked away from that prospect camp, you know, knowing that Coach Frakes liked her, Coach Hayes liked it. So it's like the seeds are being planted for her. So I look for McKenna to probably stay in state. If not in state, she'll go, you know, in the Four Corners area. But I don't see her playing at any lower level than D1. Like she just, like I said, the discipline and the desire to withhold the responsibility of what it takes to be a pitcher emotionally, mentally, and physically, she embodies that. So
great.
Yeah.
Well, we know that the eye in the sky does not lie. So let's roll tape and we'll talk through some of these. I think we got 4 pitches set up. Here we go. Throws the high heat there.
Yeah. Which that's been a goal this season.
And if I was a hitter, I'd probably think, man, she's going to throw me a changeup? Nah, she's going to go again with the high heat.
Yeah.
Oh, she comes back with that wicked changeup.
So
That's
dirty.
nasty.
So dirty. You can't even tell. I mean, the sell of it is spot on.
Now the batter's like, well, she got me on that. Is she going to throw it again, or is she going to be throw the heat? Now the pitcher has already won.
Yeah.
Got her with the strikeout. Then you come back here.
Yes.
Low. That's the drop ball.
Yep. Low and away.
Wow.
All day long.
That's awesome.
Yeah. She loves that pitch.
Right. That was the drop ball that Coach Conrad had talked about.
Yep.
She did it. She threw the high stuff. Then she threw the changeup, you know, and then speed again. Was that the rise ball that struck out that batter?
Yeah.
And then she delivered on that next batter we saw. She hit that drop ball.
Yep.
So I think, yeah, any pitcher, right? If you're throwing high and you're throwing low and you're throwing the changeup.
Well, at the end of the day, your job as a pitcher isn't to throw strikes. Your job as a pitcher is to keep a batter off balance. That video right there just displayed that. Mm-hmm. That poor batter didn't know what hit her.
Yep.
You know, and the way I train my girls is anytime you get in a 2-2 count, it's already full. Don't wait for it to be a full count or a full count in the book. Like claim it in your mind first and shut it down, right? So McKenna, that is one of the things that she has worked on is getting that first strike percentage. She wants that because then it's like she sets the table.
Oh yeah, I've seen the statistics on, and even in any level, you see the statistics. What's the first pitch strike percentage? You know, what is it? Oh, it's this much. 63% of pitches are first strikes. Mm-hmm. Okay, now first pitch strike that ends up in an out, it's like 70-80% of the time. If you get that first strike, chances are that batter is getting out.
Because mentally, guess what you just did in that batter's head? You just crept in.
Yep.
You're like, hi, I'm here.
Yeah. But at the same time, the pitchers, if you're a two-way player, then you know that.
Yes.
So
then you see that. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
you see it like Nats we talked about Stoddard.
The red sword and the blue sword. That's what's happening.
Yeah. Like that vision you said where you pitch against yourself.
Yep.
So you know that those pitchers that are batters, that are hitters, they're looking for their pitch on that first pitch because they're thinking, okay, she might throw me a strike that maybe I don't like, but what if she throws the strike that I do love? And I know that's going to be the best pitch I see the whole at bat. So yeah, I love that chess.
I want to add to this. So you know how like you're watching as a player, you're watching other teams warm up. You should listen too. And if you hear them say like, I really hope she doesn't throw a changeup because I hate changeups, like that is back pocket moment. Like you put that in your back pocket because you're going to be like, okay, I'm throwing a changeup for strike. Like I'm going to get you looking at a changeup down the pipe and I'm going to get a first strike on you. So like McKenna, like she's one of those girls that first strike changeup, not a problem. She's like, hi, I'm here. Yeah. Nice to meet you. My name's McKenna.
That was at ASU game this year, and Julianne Tipton, one of her freshman pitchers, threw a changeup, strike, and then the batter's like, oh, big deal, it's one strike. The next pitch, changeup, strike. So now the batter's like, oh man, now I got it. Now you have to swing at the changeup if it comes in.
Yes.
You know, she threw the changeup, didn't time it up right because she hadn't swung at any of them, and 3 pitches, 3 changes.
I want to bring this up. I'm going to grab my phone. I want to bring this post. So Ariel Thompson, she's at UTEP, right?
She coaches at UTEP. Last year she was a pitcher. Yeah, and she's also had a fantastic memory in the regional against UCLA a couple years ago. She beat UCLA.
Yes, and that was a rise ball.
That was a rise ball.
That was so good. Oh my gosh, and she said she knew it. And I actually have that on one of the things I do with my pitchers is I bring in guest speakers, and she was a guest speaker like literally the week before she took the job at UTEP. And she brought that moment up and she said, I knew it. And everything I did in that pitch, that was it. Like we were going to win that game. I just didn't know how, but everything in me said, do your best right now. And boom. She did. So I have to bring this up. So there is a pitcher at UTEP who, she played at Chandler High. She also played at South Mountain. She came to South Mountain the year after I was there. So I was like, dang it, I missed her. And I made this post about
Mata. This is the reason why she went from Chandler to South Mountain to UTEP.
You know what? Shout out to Mata because she was a bullpen catcher at ASU. And if anybody thinks that they can't do anything as a bullpen catcher, you guys need to like look up Brittany Mata and see what she has done for this game. And she taught me so much about calling pitches. Like Mata would be like, throw it at her knees. And I'd be like, how? Why are you telling them that? She's like, Kally, they're not going to hit their knees, but it already gets right here in the batter. So I'm just like, you are insane. But I loved it. Like, it was so much fun just sitting there listening to her talk and call pitches because there is like, how would you say, a facade around like catching coaches can't call pitches. No, they can. Like
I never understood that.
Yeah,
I'm so new to the game that I would just think a catcher just by the position they're in and the hitters they see that they would easily be able to call a game. All right, we found the clip, and here we go.
Okay.
So as we roll the video, tell me the pitcher's name and the situation. All right.
All right. So this is Anissa Reynolds. She played at Chandler High School, and then she also played at North Carolina Central University, and then she went on to South Mountain. And I believe this is where Mata came into her life because then we find her at UTEP. And
then we find her today, this year, going against Najee Kennedy.
Yes.
$1 million woman, making $1 million for Texas Tech. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. Explain what we see here. It's the 3 changeups, correct?
Correct.
That we were talking a little bit earlier in the show. Okay.
51-mile-an-hour changeup. Kennedy, the
Love
transfer
it.
from Stanford.
So much trust right now.
And faith, throw that changeup. And then I wonder who calls this. Is the coach that calls this? Let's screw it. Let's go for it. Or is it the...
go with Coach Ariel Thompson called it. Yeah.
To fool the Miners top hitter.
Yeah.
Now the 0-2. Another 50-mile-an-hour changeup. And Anissa Reynolds strikes out 90.
Like, that right there takes trusting your training to a brand new level. Like, when I shared that on my social media, it was the message of you can't just expect that to just show up. Like, that was probably one of the most high pressure situations that she's ever going to be in. Like you built it up, like Nyjah. Like, oh my gosh.
And well, if you think about it, if Coach Ariel, right,
Okay.
who 2 years before had beaten UCLA
Yes.
on a rise ball, right?
Yes.
So in that moment as a player, You feel the emotion, you feel the adrenaline, you get the crowd, the team, you love it, right? And then when you're on the other side coaching, when you get in a moment like that, I think the juices get flowing for Ari, right? And then I think she's kind of probably addicted to coaching now because of that moment. Now she's stuck on the, I think if people had a choice between this side of the playing or coaching, I think most of them would prefer playing. But at some point you're on the other side of it. But you live for moments like that, and thank goodness that Coach Ariel had that experience at UCLA, because when she was in this moment with her pitcher, she's like, "Oh, I know what we're doing here," and she had that confidence. And I think when a player sees that confidence coming back at her from a coach who's been there in that moment, that just brings that player up even more.
Oh yeah.
And then when you see it happen, and even if it would have gone south, it's still, as a player, to have that coach have that confidence in you is everything.
100%. I mean, that's why, like, whoever is working bullpens should be calling pitches. Like, you cannot separate that, because you're building in that bullpen, you're building the trust in their training. And like you said, the experience of actually pitching in a moment like that, like, I really believe like that's what makes me important to a lot of coaches, to have somebody like me on their staff, because I did play at the high level. I do understand the concept of pressure. And now that I'm on the other side of it, my biggest goal is to like get those girls to understand, like, yeah, I may be in the dugout sitting on a little chair or a bucket calling pitches, but I'm kind of right there with you.
That was awesome. That's McKenna Quapich. So I'm wishing her a great summer. And we love to have her share her recruiting journey on the back end of it when she commits. So ask her if she'd like to be on our show. We'd love to have her.
I would love that. She's actually out in Dallas right now, trying out for the big U-Trip team.
Oh, that's
yeah.
Good.
She caught a flight this morning from Tucson, and actually today she's off. Tomorrow she's trying out. So I'm super excited for this kid.
Good. And then the second pitcher we're going to talk about, her name is Mackenzie Latvajo. She's a pitcher for Xavier Prep, who Xavier Prep, by the way, is a great team. I think in the last 4 years, they've won the state championship 3 times. I'm pretty sure. They just won it last year, so they're defending their state championship. And she is a sophomore there, correct? And then she plays for her club team. She plays for Storm Mendez. And this is another one that also hits, right? Matter of fact, I think last year in the playoffs, she had a 2-run bomb versus Pinnacle to keep their team alive and send them into either the semifinals or I think maybe the state championship.
And she was a freshman.
And she was okay. She's a freshman. I love it during high school ball when those freshmen hit the bombs, and then you see them come around third base, and then you hear the team chanting, "She's a freshman."
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love that enthusiasm. Well, great. Well, we also have tape on her. So, Casey, and we're going to roll some tape. All right, first pitch here.
It's
Oh,
so dirty.
and then here she is at Xavier at the home field.
Yep.
Throws gas.
Yes.
And then probably, if I know you're her pitching coach, it's probably a change-up. She pulled the string. And then we see her power. This is against Desert Vista this year. Got a hold of that.
Makes it look so easy.
Just to the right of that little monster out there in center field.
So good.
So she's also another pitcher that hits. And she also told you that she feels like it benefits her pitching and hitting.
She is definitely one of my pitchers that eats on that mental concept of pitching against herself. She loves it. She thrives. Like, you almost see a physical transformation in the way she holds herself. And we're literally in a tunnel pitching. And once I start creating that story, she just starts getting there. And then by the time we're done, she's like red-faced. Like, she's like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's good. Well, great. And then Mackenzie, hopefully they defend their state championship. That's going to be exciting to watch here in the next couple of weeks, what happens across high school, Arizona high school ball at all levels. What's her summer looking like? She's on Storm Mendez, Coach Jamie Mendez, who by the way has a really good team.
Yes.
What's their schedule look like this summer?
I don't know the exact dates, but it's a lot like what McKenna's is going to look like. They're hitting particular showcases to showcase their talent.
Okay.
And Jamie has a very talented team. And shout out to Jamie for being able to coach multiple talented players, because not a lot of coaches can do that. And the team that she has made out of those girls, it's a family. Like Mackenzie shared with me how nervous she was to go try out for them. And she said that first initial tryout, like she just felt peaceful. And that just speaks volumes for the coach. So
that's good.
Yeah.
I know they have a great catcher in Brooklyn Parks there. That I'm wishing her a great summer as well. And then, okay, we talked about, so that's Mackenzie's summer with Coach Jamie at Storm Mendez. What about, we didn't get a chance to talk about McKenna. McKenna Qualpich's summer is looking like she's going to be part of a very elite, top-tier Tennessee Mojo team, correct?
Yes, correct.
You know, that you'll be assisting with?
Yes.
Tell me about, what's that schedule look like for the summer?
So they have, I don't even think she'll be able to attend the first one. It's the, they call it a tune-up tournament. That one is May 17th and 18th, I believe. I could be off by a day. They may still be in state, you know, since they are number 15 in the country.
Yep.
And then we have, obviously, Memorial Day, 24th, 25th, maybe the 26th. I believe that's out at Arizona Athletic Grounds. And then we will be in Tennessee and Oklahoma come June, and then we have a couple weeks off, and then we'll be at PGF Nationals the first couple weeks of school, starting for Chandler School District. So the 17th, I believe, through the 28th of July. So
in at PGF.
Correct.
Huntington Beach.
Yep, Huntington Beach. So we're
fun.
excited. The Tennessee one, it's going to be in Cooksville, and that'll be fun because there's a big workout there. A lot of coaches are going to be out there. I'm excited for the Arizona girls to get out there and have Southern coaches be able to see them. That's such huge exposure for them. And then you get into that Red River in Oklahoma. And like, I have a cousin who plays out there, and my uncle is like, you've got to get Marley out here. And I'm like, oh, we'll be out there. We're going to be in Choctaw, you know, during this date. So I'm excited for the girls to experience that, because even my daughter is going to be experiencing this journey as well. So for my
daughter's a freshman.
Correct.
At Chandler. That's
correct.
Good.
Yeah. And she's kind of a jack of all trades. Like, that girl's a gamer. Like, Marley just.
And your husband's a head baseball coach?
Yes.
At Chandler.
At Chandler, yep.
Right.
And he teaches their PE and health, and he's also the chair department head.
That's good for the dad to be at the same high school as the daughter.
Yeah.
With all the little boys.
Yep.
Okay.
But it's good for her. She, I think he is really, I don't take any credit for the cultivation of her desire to hit. That has been him. He's always, like, anywhere we've lived in any of our houses, we've always had some form of accessibility to hitting, like whether it's his field or when we were in Flagstaff, we had a tunnel in our backyard, you know, in both houses. So just going out and hitting, that's kind of been their thing. And that is one of the biggest compliments that she gets from people that watch her hit. They're just like, you can actually tell she really likes hitting. She doesn't mind getting in a full count. She doesn't mind a 2-strike approach. She's like, one way or another, I'm going to figure out how to get on, because once I get on, I'm kind of trouble for you.
That's good.
That's how she looks at it. So.
That's good. I love to hear it when these girls are super competitive, and really that they are. They're all very super competitive.
Yep.
Okay, so thank you for telling us about your 2 stud ballers.
Yes.
McKenna and Mackenzie, have a great summer, and hopefully we'll see you in the fall with a great story to tell. Or if it happens the following year, it doesn't matter. It's just the start of a long process.
Yeah, I think I don't even think they'll hesitate. I think they'll want to be a part of it. Just because you're doing such a good job at, like, you know, the hashtag grow the game, but you're doing so much more here in Arizona, because Arizona, I think, has a rep of, like, it's a state that plays ball all year round. Well, truly, it's just the lower half of Arizona. Like, let's be honest, where girls play all year round. They're not so much encouraged to play 3 sports, you know. You think California is a beast? No, Arizona is a beast. Yep. You know, but you've done a really good job of just kind of like, hey, I'm at this level. Let me give you a hand. Come up to this level. Let's move forward as one unit, as one community. Because at the end of the day, like, when softball's over, these girls are going to be left with themselves. Yeah. So you've done good. And I think a lot of that comes from your dad heart.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Our last question. What do you love most about softball that keeps you so passionate about teaching these young, promising student athletes? Because, you know, you've been in it for over a quarter of a century, you know, and you're just now having your daughter in high school. So it wasn't like you're one of these parents that got in it because of the daughter. Your daughter wasn't even in your mind when you started coaching this, and you know, and your husband's in the baseball, so it's, you know, round ball stick. It's basically same sport in many ways. So what has kept you, you know, that fire in your belly to keep helping out these girls and passing the good stuff down?
Man, I'm going to go back to the foundation of just like, my mom was my first coach. She always made it very simple. And she really taught me how to embrace grit and grace. Like, you can only do so much when you're only doing so much. Like, if you're not putting the effort in, you cannot expect anything more out of that, you know? And just growing up and then learning how to be coached by other coaches and then having to play up. Once my sister and I played college prep. It wasn't travel ball. Back then it was college prep. I always had to play 2 years up because my sister, she's a stud. And that really taught me to like, oh gosh, like I can't be not goofy, but I have to be serious to a certain point, right? So I had to kind of grow up quick in the game. And then senior year, giving back, deciding to help coach and having a dad walk up to me and like hand me a $20 bill and ask me to work with his daughter. That's like really where everything started with Kally V softball. And then getting a call, you know, to a school from California and turning them down because I wanted to go play at a school in Kansas so I could play with old teammates. You know, that foundation, again, the friendship, the relationship, and then facing adversity. Like after 2 years of playing JUCO ball up in Kansas at Seward County, in between my sophomore and junior year, I was going to go play at Portales in New Mexico. And I threw a blood clot in my brain and literally almost died. And I was so mad because I couldn't finish playing softball. Like I was going to go play and didn't really know how to do life. And I really had to go back to the foundation because I got caught up in like everything. I walked in a room and it was like, what up, softball? Like that's how people knew me. And so again, softball has been, you know, I said this on Ashley Burkhart's podcast a couple years ago. It's a blueprint. Like to me, I look at it like the Bible. Like people are like, how do I live life? I'm like, read the Bible. And it's hard to read the Bible. I get that. But softball is very close to a lot of the stories in the Bible as far as adversity. So softball is definitely a blueprint. Like I just think there's so much adversity that kids go through and grow through that they can apply to life after softball's over.
Yeah, amen.
So
also, speaking of your first client, the first $20 bill, you told me that your first client, because I asked you about this because you got into coaching so early, 18. Well, it makes sense now that you say what you say. You're like, you had a lot of fire. Like you were upset that you know, listen, I am going to figure out a way to stay in this game, this beautiful game. And you did. And your first client, Gavi,
yeah, with a V.
Yep. And your first client, you helped her get to college too. And not only, like you just said, once you're done with softball, you know, what has softball taught you? What I loved when you shared the story with me is you guys have created a lifelong relationship that to this day, you guys are best of friends. Tell me a little bit about how that relationship started, where it's at. So
literally, I can still remember the Little League field where her dad came up to me, and she was very standoffish. She was 12, I was 18. Sure, like every 18-year-old, I probably knew everything. I didn't really
Did you write it down? Did you write it down since you knew everything?
No.
So tell my daughter, hey, you're 18, you think you know it all? Write it down.
Good one to remember.
And then, you know.
Yeah, so I can look back. But I just did it. I was like, sweet, I'm going to get paid, you know? And pretty soon it was these moments where I would come to their house and work with her in the backyard. And then I started becoming like a part of their family. And like when I had my oldest son, she was at the birth. Like I literally was in her wedding. Like there were just all these things that I had no idea that were going to develop from that. Little did I know, like my first client was going to be my first client to play college ball. Like I had no idea what God was doing in my life at that time. You know, all I cared about was playing. Like I watched Lisa and Dot and Michelle play in an Olympic game against Oklahoma Baptist when I was like 13, 14 years of age. And I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, that's all I want to do with my life. I just want to play. Like I even thought about moving down here before I ever really thought about moving down here, married and kids, just to play softball. That's all I cared about. And God was like, look, you're going to still be in the game, but it's going to be different. So Gavi, our relationship really grew. even more so when she got into college, because she would face adversity as far as like distractions. So we would write letters. Like we still have letters that we would write back and forth.
Did you have the internet back then?
No, I don't even think. Trying to think.
No, it was just coming about.
No, you're good. But like even the phone, like I think.
We didn't have cell phones.
I think she had one, but she was only able to text. That was the only plan that her parents put her on. And so we would write letters, but sometimes she would call me and be like, oh, I just kind of want to quit. And I'm like, well, why do you want to quit? Like, you're so far. Like, what's going on? And then she would tell me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, kid. Like, that is a distraction. Like, press on. You got this. And it paid off. Like, now she's in Gallup. She is the head speech pathologist for McKinley County Elementary Ed. And she also gives pitching lessons. She actually coached at Gallup High for a year and took them the furthest they had been in state since 1983, I believe.
Awesome.
Yeah, and she's a game changer too. But my kids call her auntie, and her son calls me auntie. Like, we're family. She was just here a week and a half ago. So
yeah, who would have thought that your first lesson, bad, and then it would turn into this great relationship?
Man, and it's just, we always joke. Our retirement plan is, we're going to build a barn dominium, and she's going to have one side, V and I will have one side, and we're going to have a facility in the middle. And that's the going out plan.
Well, hey, Kally V, this has been great. Thank you for being part of the show, and thank you for what you do in the softball world. And thank you out there for listening. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe, please share. Follow us on YouTube at AZ in the Circle, on Instagram at AZ in the Circle, on X at AZ in the Circle, and TikTok. Sometimes I forget to post stuff there, but we post little videos there. So thank you for watching. I'm Javier with AZ in the Circle, Arizona Softball Podcast.